$20.99 might not be much, but it's all mine. And he's not gonna change it.
What is up, members of my collector corps? It is I, Super Mario Zilla, or you could call me Vinny, and today we will be taking a look at the MDX Mezco 112 Collective Spider-Man 2099. Out of the blue, Mezco revealed this figure during one of their events when real-world events occurred. Pretty much everyone was caught in Mezco's spider web when this was revealed and went up for pre-order. Was the wait worth it? For some, debatable, because the figure seems to have gotten rushed. A lot of this figure had warped legs, torn fabric, and the web cape sticking and imprinting the pattern on the back of the costume. Many collectors were obviously upset, and rightfully so. But what if you get a good one? Is it any good when it's not in any sticky situation? Let's find out. The look of this figure is fantastic. The figure uses the same body as the classic Mezco Spider-Man. No, not that one. Yep, that one. The head and neck area is sculpted and not fabric at all. The pattern on the mask is actually sculpted rather than being printed on the head, so that's good. Another subtle detail is seeing O'Hara's lips through the mask, just barely. The logo pattern on the suit is well done, a nice glossy finish, and is also slightly raised rather than, again, being printed. It helps him really pop. The suit has this tiny compound pattern. This was done most likely to avoid any pajamas complaints. The web cape is okay, but definitely too small. Would have been better if it was bigger. Here, it looks puny. The rest of the suit is just blue, obviously with an actual muscular body underneath the suit, which is a suitable build for Spider-Man. Like the head and neck area, the hands and shoes are plastic and not cloth. What's cool about the shoes is there's actually details on the bottom of the feet. Any other issues I have are just nitpicks. Overall, Spider-Man looks great, puny cape aside.
If you owned the previous Mezco Spider-Man figures, you know what to expect with the articulation engineering, but the difference here is that the articulation may be more limited or gives you more give because of the material. The material here is kind of weird. You got to be careful when you pose it. I do not recommend, definitely don't recommend leaving them in a pose for a long time because the fabric sticks to each other for some reason. So yeah, there's that, but still, you could get them into some poses. No problem. Head is on a double ball peg, can look this high up. The neck is also on a ball joint. He can look this far down and can look side to side, no problem, and lean, no problem. So that's all fine and dandy. Torso can crunch forward about this far, and he can go backward, not very far at all. He can still lean and twist side to side, no problem. Just got to be careful with the material. Shoulders on a hinge. They could go really high up, so that's really good. They can also go forward. You can go all the way up, but I personally would not recommend it. And going back, so he can do a full 360 if you dare. Biceps can swivel. You can't really see it all that well. But yeah, it can swivel. Double hinged elbows, we get basically, the elbows bend basically all the way, so that's awesome. Swivel hinge wrists, no issues. Ball joints for the legs, he can kick this far forward, he can kick this far back, and he can also kick a little bit all the way to the side. Thighs can swivel. Knees, like the elbows, are also on a double hinge, and he can basically bend all the way, so again, that's pretty good. And ankles are on ball joints, so he can move this far back. Ankles can move this far forward, and of course we get the ankle rocker, which this time is a lot better than previous Spider-Man figures. O'Hara has some pretty solid articulation. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. The cape. It's actually on a bendy wire on both sides. So if you need his cape to be flowing in the wind, or maybe just rushing to a side if he's jumping, you can do that. So O'Hara's articulation, it's really solid. Like, for real, it's actually really good. It's one of the better articulated Mezco figures. It's just the issue is the material. You can't leave him in a pose for too long, otherwise the material will get damaged. It's just something to keep in mind. So if you want to play with this figure, it should only be done for photos, not really to leave him in a pose for a long time on the display. But it's fine. He still looks pretty good even when in vanilla. So yeah, O'Hara's articulation, good. Just play with him with caution.
Spidey comes with a very good amount of accessories. Only issue is no bendable web line. And yes, I know Miguel O'Hara glides and jumps with his cape most of the time, but there are some shots where he does web swing, so it's odd it wasn't included here at all. If you ask me, that's a bit out of line. First of his accessories is his base with the comic book shot printed on it. It's very clean and looks nice. Definitely more creative than just using the logo. The base comes with a peg and the arm we have seen a million times already. Next up is the web pattern base. Looks very good. Sculpt and color are pretty. Next we have the web trap for our standard Mezco head to make it look like Spider-Man webbed someone's face. It's relatively soft plastic, so getting it on any standard 1/12 scale human head should not be any trouble. Spidey comes with another head sculpt, with his mask half up to reveal his sharp fangs and teeth to poison his foes. The look at the sculpt is on point. Oh my god, fine, maybe that was a bit of a stretch. Either way, it still counts as a pun. The next head sculpt is an unmasked Miguel O'Hara head. It looks good. The hair sculpt is a little soft though, not gonna lie. For his hands, despite not coming with a web line, he still comes with gripping hands. So if you have custom webs to use, these work just fine. Next are 2 raw crawling hands, 2 dynamic posed hands, another set of open dynamic hands, and finally, the same hands, but with indents on the back so he can shoot his webs. We got a few webs. One with a cup kind of end, another one with a bigger open end, I guess to grab someone. A standard web that ends in a ball, one small web with the ball, and one long web with the ball. Getting the webs into hands is simple enough. Replace the default hands with the open hands that have the indents. Stick the base of any of the webs either in the indents of the hands or on the wrist pegs. Pop the hand on and boom, Spider-Man can now shoot webs. Next is a wrist communicator device that can go on any wrist and Miguel can use it to speak to, you guessed it, Lila. Lila is on her own wrist communicator so you can have her turned on or off. Don't you dare take that out of context and get your heads out of the gutter, you sick. Anyway, Lila looks great. She's a transparent orange and is sculpted to look like an actual hologram. The tiny details are okay. Not meant to be super detailed for obvious reasons. Spidey is an overall nice package, but we definitely should have gotten a bendable web line like with the previous Spider-Man figures that Mezco released. Here's a size comparison with some other Mezco 1/12 figures you may or may not own. Spidey scales nicely with other Marvel heroes. Maybe could have been ever so slightly taller, but that's a nitpick. He goes great with other figures either way, even his future rival, Batman Beyond. Assuming you get a good figure from the batch, this is a really solid figure with only a couple of problems. Price was standard and he comes with a lot of stuff and poses well despite the clothes. I can recommend him, but only with caution. It's a gamble if you buy one that's never been opened, so please try to find one that's been inspected to make sure it doesn't have major issues mentioned in the beginning of the review. And you'll probably have to pay at least $130 if you know where to look. Because this figure was exclusive to Mezco's website and not a regular release, so the aftermarket may sting. So only if you're a diehard fan of Spider-Man or Mezco should you hunt him down. And if you do get him in a good condition, he's awesome. Dare I say a favorite in the line? Yeah, I said it. I love him. But back to being objective, Spidey will receive a 9 out of 10.